Welcome to liveAIwire.com, where we take a calm and practical look at the developments shaping modern AI. In this episode, we explore 3 stories that illustrate how deeply these systems are entering everyday life. You can access every episode early on Patreon, and your support, even at the price of a coffee, really helps keep the podcast running. Let's get underway.
Across the world, the line between memory and simulation is blurring, and a new, ethically complicated frontier is emerging, where people are using AI voice clones, hyper-realistic avatars, to reconnect with lost loved ones.
It's happening so quickly. This phenomenon, often called digital necromancy, is no longer just a thought experiment. It's a global, commercial reality.
And what's really striking is how public it is. This isn't just theoretical grief counseling anymore.
No, not at all. These are highly public, very emotional showcases. And they're forcing an immediate reckoning with some fundamental questions about memory, identity, and, well, what closure really means.
We're seeing startling examples everywhere. The sources highlight things like virtual reality reunions, between parents and deceased children being aired on South Korean television.
Right, and in the US, it's become an industry. There's a whole cottage industry of startups offering services to recreate deceased relatives.
As interactive AI companions, deadbots, as many are calling them.
Exactly, and to really grasp the ethical problem here, you have to understand how these synthetic identities are actually constructed.
So what's under the hood?
Well, they're built on highly specialized large language models, or LLMs, and they're trained exclusively on a deceased individual's vast digital history.
You mean everything? Texts, emails?
Everything. Texts, emails, social media posts, even private journals if they're available. This data is then combined with archived audio for a voice clone and 3D models from photos.
So the deadbot can do more than just speak.
Oh, much more.
Oh.
It simulates conversational style. It can recall specific shared events. It even mimics subtle mannerisms.
Okay, let's unpack the emotional side of this, because Neuroscience News reported that public attitudes are, well, they're dramatically divided.
They are.
For the user, the appeal is understandable. Proponents see it as genuinely therapeutic. It's an interactive memorial that keeps these core memories alive.
But the professional consensus from grief experts seems much more cautious. They make a distinction between memory and reanimation.
Reanimation, no matter how convincing, isn't resurrection.
Precisely. Their warning is that prolonged reliance on an AI stand-in might actually inhibit the natural and, yes, painful but necessary process of grieving.
So you're avoiding the finality that's needed for healthy closure.
You are. The AI becomes a sort of crutch. It postpones loss rather than helping to resolve it.
And this is where it gets really interesting, I think, the commercial side. This isn't just about private grief in a virtual room anymore.
No, we're seeing a massive trend among celebrities and public figures. They're having their likenesses, their personalities preserved for commercial use.
Holographic performers, AI-narrated ads, posthumous endorsements.
Which immediately brings up the thorniest dilemma of all: digital consent. The ownership of one's identity after death. The laws for this, well, they're patchy at best.
But doesn't this already happen with celebrity estates? I mean, Elvis Presley's estate licenses his image all the time. What makes the AI version fundamentally different?
It's the difference between static and generative. Traditional licensing uses static images, old recordings. AI allows for generative agency.
Meaning the aesthetic person can say new things, endorse new products.
Exactly. They can deliver new lines, enter new contexts, do things the actual person never approved of. Your identity essentially becomes commercial IP.
So the line between homage and exploitation just evaporates.
It does. And that's why researchers at places like Lund University are calling for clear legal safeguards, not just for initial consent, but to regulate against emotional exploitation and, frankly, digital impersonation.
That's a profound shift in how we think about human value. Now, if we connect this reliance on AI for, say, synthetic memory, we can transition to how it's changing another fundamental human process, learning.
Yes, there's a huge, quiet transformation happening in student habits across every major university system.
We've moved from just digitizing information to using AI to synthesize and deliver knowledge conversationally.
And the classroom is really the key testing ground. We're seeing an unprecedented migration in how students approach their work.
The data on this is just startling. Students are bypassing the traditional tools, a standard Google search, a dive into Wikipedia, and turning directly to generative AI.
For an immediate answer.
Exactly. A Harvard survey found that nearly 1 in 3 undergraduates already rely on AI tools instead of traditional search when they start their research.
And if you look at the scale, it confirms this isn't a fringe behavior. A large EQPI survey in 2025 found that 92% of students had used AI in their academic work.
92%, that's total saturation. But why? Why the immediate overwhelming appeal? Why abandon the search engine method that's dominated for 20 years?
It's all about format efficiency and reducing cognitive load. A search engine gives you 10 blue links. It forces you to sift, to cross-reference, to evaluate.
Whereas generative AI just gives you the answer.
It gives you a synthesized, conversational, personalized answer immediately. A student can ask a complex question, get a simple explanation, and then refine that query until they feel they get it.
It's like an interactive, tireless tutor.
Instantly available, yes. The most common uses were summarizing articles, explaining difficult concepts, and generating study guides, all tasks that traditionally required a lot of focused mental labor.
So the goal is speed and simplification. But what are the institutions saying about the cognitive cost of this shift? What skills do students risk losing?
That is the core tension: efficiency versus cultivation. Institutions are, quite rightly, concerned. The London School of Economics, the LSE, warn that an unchecked dependency on these tools risks bypassing essential learning processes.
The actual work of learning.
Yes, the intellectual labor of sifting through conflicting sources, learning patience with ambiguity, and developing the skill of synthesis. That's what AI does automatically.
If the simplified answer is always the first answer, you never learn to navigate complexity.
Precisely. That's why the U.S. Department of Education pushed for a human-in-the-loop approach. They emphasized that AI should enhance teaching, not replace it.
But the data suggests that for most students, the algorithm has already become the first and maybe the only stop.
It has. The biggest transformation is the trust they immediately place in that conversational answer.
We've talked about the enormous ethical cost of building simulated memory and the huge cognitive shift happening in our education systems. But scaling these AI models, it doesn't just rely on data. It relies on physical resources.
And this is where the story shifts dramatically. From the abstract and academic to the geopolitical and, well, the infrastructural, data centers are no longer just large utility customers.
They're becoming strategic partners in the energy sector.
Exactly. And there's a pioneering commitment that proves this shift. Google just announced a massive long-term deal to power its AI data centers with next-generation nuclear energy.
And this is a deal with Kairos Power and the Tennessee Valley Authority, the TVA.
That's right, one of the largest public power providers in the United States. The initial deal is for 50 megawatts from a GEN-AV nuclear reactor, but it scales up to 500 megawatts by 2035.
So Google is the first major tech company to lock in advanced nuclear, specifically for its AI infrastructure. That sends a signal.
A huge signal.
But why nuclear? For years, tech firms have committed to 100% renewables like solar and wind. Why the sudden pivot?
It's the sheer energy appetite of modern AI. It's just astronomical. Training these frontier models requires massive clusters of GPUs running 24/7.
And that requires constant, uninterrupted baseload power.
Which solar and wind, for all their benefits, simply cannot guarantee. They're intermittent. Nuclear offers zero carbon, high capacity, constant uptime. It's a necessity for continuous AI training.
And just to give you some context, when we talk about GEN-AV reactors, these are designs that are meant to be safer, more efficient, and often use passive safety systems.
Precisely. And this is why the deal is more than just sourcing electricity. It aligns directly with federal ambitions in the U.S. to accelerate nuclear power.
So this is about geopolitics and national security, not just utility costs.
Absolutely. When AI is seen as a national security asset, securing reliable domestic power becomes paramount. It reduces your reliance on volatile global energy markets. Some observers are rightly calling it an energy arms race.
But nuclear power, even advanced nuclear, still faces significant public resistance. Safety, long-term waste. What are the counter-arguments to Google's bet?
The environmental tensions persist, certainly. Despite bodies like the International Energy Agency saying advanced nuclear could meet climate goals, public trust is a hurdle, and there's a risk.
At a risk for both industries.
Yes. If a massive capital-intensive project like this fails, it could entrench skepticism toward both nuclear power and the AI industry that relies on it.
And what about the operational complexity for Google? I mean, they're experts in code, not nuclear fission.
That's the key operational risk. Running a cloud service is completely different from managing highly regulated nuclear operations, fuel sourcing, reactor safety, decommissioning.
These are risks cloud providers have zero experience with.
None. But whether it succeeds or not, this move signals that AI development is now completely inseparable from energy infrastructure and its inherent geopolitical stakes.
So whether we are using AI to create synthetic memories of the dead, offload our cognitive workload in the classroom, or drive national energy policy, the defining challenge of the digital frontier is managing the complex, often unpredictable trade-offs between innovation, efficiency, and the finite physical resources required to sustain this enormous ambition.
Thanks for listening to liveiwire.com. You can explore every story in full on the website, and early access is always available on Patreon for those who choose to support us. If you work in media and would like to feature any of our coverage, we're always looking to expand our distribution, and you can reach us directly through the site. The links to the 3 stories featured today are included in the episode details below, along with all relevant tags. Until next time.